Okay. All right. All right. We're recording live tonight. And we are starting a linen study with Yeshua Women on Telegram. And I hope this all gives you some think spots. And I hope you all learned something. And I hope this is going to help us with the priesthood of the kingdom, or the Melchizedek priesthood. So linen comes from flax, for anybody that didn't know that. And this is actually a picture from Israel. It's flax. This purple, it can come in purple or pink colors. So linen comes from flax. Flax blooms in Israel when the Aviv, which is the first Hebrew month, is starting, and when the barley is ripening. So whenever you see the flax blooming, then the barley is ripening. Flax plants produce pale blue, purplish, or pink 5-petal flowers with a delicate, earthy fragrance. They actually make like essential oils out of this, and they make like linen sprays. And we'll get to that. There's going to be some more information on all of that. Now, some of the words are pretty hard to say, and I don't know if I'm saying them right, but forgive me. It's Linum pubescens. It's the hairy pink flax, and them are the Hebrew letters for it. The life form of the annual linen or flax stems up to 20 centimeters or more in height. And some of this information that we gathered here, I give credit to this www.flowersinisrael.com and then this page. So if anybody wants to look into it more, they can go to those pages. Flax is always planted in the 12th biblical month in Israel. Now that's in Israel because Israel has different seasons than us. Their seasons are not like ours. And they plant it in the 12th biblical month. So at the end of the year, they plant it. And then this is a picture of pink flax that Rivka Biderman gave a picture. It's from the Galilee in Israel. And then the next picture is a close-up of it. This one was pink flax. The seeds of the Holy Land, hairy pink flax it's called, linen seeds. There are 98 different references for linen and flax in the Bible, such as, "For the marriage of the Lamb has come, and his bride has made herself ready. It was given to her to clothe herself in fine linen, bright and clean, for the fine linen is the righteous acts of the saints." Revelation 19, 7-8. Linen is an annual spring bush-like plant with beautiful pink flowers, or like we said, it can be purplish blue, and it reaches the height of 20 centimeters. The flowering period is from February to May. There's medicinal use. The seeds are used for food and medicine, the treatment of stomach pain, kidney stones, indigestion, cough, hair loss. Ground flax powder can be spread on wounds to pull out infection. And then we're quoting it here from this next website of the Holy Land here. How flax linen is made. Once the stalks of the flax are fermented in the fields, the inner fibers are removed through a process called scutching. Flax fibers are then separated into categories, short and long, and the longest fibers are set aside to make yarns for linen. Flax linen is the fabric that is woven from flax yarn. Elise, one of the girls in our fellowship here on Yeshua Women, she actually went, Elise, could you talk a little bit about when you went to see the flax?
Yeah, a friend and I had a class at a farm, a flax farm in Pennsylvania, and it was very interesting and very educational. They let everybody try the different process. I don't have my notes in front of me to call them exactly, but as soon as you said the scotching, I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. Because there was a couple of different, I don't want to call them utensils, but they were like hand tools that you use to separate the fibers. Because the first is like where you bang it, and then you do this stripping where you just like lash it through these sharp tines that stick up, and you pull them through, and you're trying to get the longest fibers, like you said. But then no part of it is actually can go to waste. You can actually use all parts of it, even the pieces that come off, or the little tiny harder pieces that are on the outside that come off of this long strands. Those pieces they use, I forget what they call them, but they're used in like bedding, or you can use them in pillows. You can use them for animal bedding, all kinds of stuff.
Awesome. We actually have a video further down. We won't get to that tonight, but there is a video. I believe it is from Pennsylvania on how they do it.
Oh,
so
fun.
That'll be interesting.
That will be very neat to watch.
And
it was very, very neat.
There is one going to be happening here in Pennsylvania in the autumn, so I would like to go see it. But it's interesting. So the next page 4. Now, this is some research I've been doing because I make some of my own essential oils, and I learned about notes. There's even notes in perfume and essential oils. And flax and linen, it is a base note. And the base notes are used for different things. And we'll get into that more later on, but base notes, these notes are essential for different people, for different diseases, different ailments, different emotional problems. And that's why even perfume, even regular perfume that you buy in the stores, even if it's not natural, they have notes. And that's why sometimes some people can't wear certain perfume or certain smells, because it doesn't, the notes doesn't work for their body. But flax and linen, they are known, it's known to be healing, and it has a base note associated with a dry down period, and their ultimate function is to provide the user a lasting impression of a fragrance. A linen fragrance made from the flax flowers will have a clean, soapy scent and musky, woody undertones. So we'll learn more about base notes later on. I'm putting an actual side study together about that. So we're going to get into the scriptures here now. Exodus 9:31. And the flax and the barley was smitten, for the barley was in the ear and the flax was bold. So I had told you in the very beginning, the flax in Israel blooms when the barley, the first fruits, are in. So right here you have a scripture for that. And then Exodus 9:32. But the wheat and the rye were not smitten, for they were not grown up yet. So now we know wheat and rye are not grown up during barley season. That's for Shavuot, Pentecost. Then Exodus 28:6. And now they shall make the ephod of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and fine woven linen, artistically worked. Exodus 28:15. The breastplate. You shall make the breastplate of judgment, artistically woven according to the workmanship of the ephod. You shall make it gold, blue, purple, scarlet thread, and fine woven linen you shall make it. Then Luke 23:53, and he took it down and wrapped it in linen and laid it in a sepulchre that was hewn in stone, wherein never man before was laid. And by the way, Yeshua, our Messiah, he was wrapped in some of the linen cloths, and they would use these linen cloths as wicks. Some of the things you use linen to make were the wicks. Exodus 35:35. He has filled them with skill to do all kinds of work as craftsmen, designers, embroiderers in blue, purple, scarlet yarn, fine linen, and weavers, all of them master craftsmen and designers. And we're at page 5. Linen and flax. It has an energy of healing. Sorry about my puppy if you can hear her. You know, when you eat flax seeds. So I have a very good website that you can buy some really good flax seeds and flax oil. It's called Flax Lignans. Are good for healing and ingesting. They have the highest rate. The lignans are a large group of low molecular weight polyphenols found in plants, particularly seeds, whole grains, and vegetables. Flax hulls are good for many health problems. And here I have a website that you can go buy this. My one friend actually bought a whole bunch of things there, and she's feeling much better. And I started putting the flax seeds and the hulls into my cereal in the morning. It's good for cardiac, good for so many different things. And the flax seed itself, the energy in it, has 370,000 lignin content. Flaxseed is by far the richest dietary source of plant lignin. So what are lignans? Lignans are phytonutrients that have both soluble and insoluble fiber. Lignans are antioxidants that may also support the immune system. Additionally, lignans are except for balancing hormone levels in the body. It's good for prostate health, breast health, menopause, uterine and ovarian health, arthritis, cholesterol, colds, flu, diabetes, hair, high blood pressure, HIV, AIDS, immune system, etc. I mean, the list goes on and on about this flaxseed. It's amazing, you know, what Elohim has put on this earth for us to use in our bodies. Then we have the linen garments. In the Old Testament, the priests wore linen undergarments as a sign of holiness. The coronation is considered a holy event. I'm talking about the coronations of kings and queens. It's considered a holy event as the monarch swears to abide and defend by the faith. They would wear white linen, and it signifies holiness in the Bible and the righteous acts of the saints. Linen breeches were for modesty. Priest garments were for glory and beauty. You shall make holy garments for Aaron and your brother for glory, for beauty. Exodus 28:2 and Exodus 28:40 through 42. Elise, could you start reading there on page 5 where it starts? White linen also represents, please.
White linen also represents the righteousness of God's people. And to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white. For the fine linen is the righteousness of the saints. Revelation 19:18. Flax and linen. Here is some information about the production of linen in the region around the Galilee. The following is a quote. With the death of Herod the Great and the subsequent establishment of his son Herod Philip as a Roman client ruler in the Gaulanites. Okay. We see a shift in the economics within northern Israel, seeking a way to participate in the far-flung Roman economy and unable to compete with the cheap grain supplied to Rome by North Africa. Herod Philip introduced flax into his crop rotations. This was then shipped overland via his capitals, Bethsaida, Julius, and Caesarea Philippi, to the port of Tyre, Schoenwetter, and Geyer 2000. Herod Philip's economic choice was a wise one, for the Romans utilized flax in a variety of ways. From the Roman consumer's standpoint, processed to differing stages, it supplied the material for tunics, leggings, water-resistant capes, and tents. In addition, flax supplied the rope and sails for their war and grain ships, as well as the lightweight breastplates for the troops defending them. From the Galilean supplier's standpoint, processed to different stages, it supplied the processor with various levels of profit. Raw flax, straight from the field, brought prices nearly double that of wheat, but flax processed into even rough rope would bring a price nearly 100 times that of an equal amount of wheat. Safari, 1994. Thus, the peasant villagers of Galilee, many overburdened or even displaced by taxation, would have a ready source of income by endeavoring to process flax. Now that it was no longer women's work, we have a flax industry. Written records attest to such a full-scale flax industry centered around the Sea of Galilee, a necessary water source in the middle of the 2nd century. Safari, 1994, see Galilee, Sea of. Bar Hadiah states, I saw myself how the Sea of Tiberias was encircled with wash basins of flaxen clothes. Safari, 1994. However, archaeological evidence predates this to the time of Herod Philip, Geyer 2001. It has been reported to me that some scholars say the flax around the Galilee did grow tall enough, but they didn't see the flax last year in a year of plenty of rain. This flax will achieve great height. You can look in the media section and easily find the photo. Other articles I have read but have not hung on to say that the valley of Ar between Arbel and Migdol was where the flax was produced into linen. This location was famous for its linen, and there was even a spindle called the Arbel spindle, name for the location. When I think about the outer garment that Yeshua wore that was woven from one piece of material, I wonder, was it produced right here in the Galilee at Arbel? Wow. Did you know if you are standing on the shore of Capernaum, you can look across the Kinneret and see the valley of Ar between Arbel and Migdol? Did you know if you are standing on the shore of Capernaum, you can look across the Kinneret and see the valley of Ar? Wow. I wonder
if I ever get to Israel, I want to visit there.
I'm like, what? I want to see the Galilee and Arbel and all that. Migdol, that's cool. I wonder if the linen he was wrapped in when he was laid in the tomb was produced here in this area. This beautiful pink bloom turns blue in death. It turns blue? Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I also happen to believe, for too many reasons to outline in the brief text, that the book of the law that Moses wrote was written on linen. Wow. Writing on linen and linen wrapping can be seen in ancient Egyptian history. And when you think about Moses' book being written on linen, what a beautiful picture it is that Yeshua wrote a seamless linen garment and he was wrapped in linen at his death. With all of these connections to Yeshua, I have a really hard time believing that the flax in the photo called Linum pubescens or pink hairy flax is not the linen used in the first century. And it's magnificent how Yah has the flax line up with the wheat and the barley, just as it did in Exodus 9:31 and 32. Let me write that down. Exodus 9:31 and 32. Flax lines up with the barley. Lines up with the barley.
Yeah, we can. Do you want me to read it?
Well, the barley would come first, but then it lines up with the wheat.
Yeah, barley first.
Yeah, Exodus 9:31 and 32.
Exodus
Do you have that? I have my.
I'm there if you want me to read it.
Yeah.
9:31. It says, "And the flax and the barley was smitten, for the barley was in the air, and the flax was bold. But the wheat and the rye were not smitten, for they were not grown up yet." See, it says they were not grown up yet, so I don't know what who the woman it tells who wrote this at the end here. I think she wasn't right about what she was saying here about the wheat, because the wheat wasn't grown up yet. Bold means budding.
Yeah, bold, right. And then I just looked it up in the Complete Jewish Bible, and it says the flax and barley were ruined, right? Because the barley was ripe and the flax in bud, but the wheat and the buckwheat were not ruined because they come up later. Interesting.
Yeah, and I have in my concordance here of the Restoration Study Bible, that's the Bible that gives you all the feast in it. The concordance says, the time of the ripening of certain crops is directly related to specific events in Yahweh's calendar. The first month of Yahweh's calendar is called Aviv, which in Hebrew means young ears. Both the barley and the flax were destroyed, but the wheat wasn't yet ready. Therefore, since the barley was the only grain to be mature enough for the time of Passover, the ripening of the barley then it tells the ripening of the barley is used to determine the month. But the wheat and the rye were not smitten. These grains mature about a month after the barley. See, the wheat has to be ready for Pentecost, for Shavuot. So that's why it says that. So I don't think she understood, there in that part. So we kind of corrected that. We kind of, we can correct what's written here, because I'll tell you what I wrote, and it will be quoted at the end. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. And all right, that's cool. And it's always good to read, right? Because that's
right.
Right. And it's cool what she's saying here. So, and then there is this veiled verse that for me connects everything. Isaiah 42:3. A bruised reed or stem shall he not break, and the smoking flax shall he not quench or expire. He shall bring forth judgment unto truth. I don't know about you, but I see the barley and the flax in Exodus 9:31. Yeah, right. A bruised reed or stem he will not break, and the smoking flax shall he not quench. How about it? So let me see. In Exodus, Exodus 9:31, linen clothing, linen sheets can keep you from 5G waves. Oh.
Yeah, I learned that back when this 5G was coming out. It can keep from radiation, or if you have to go for x-rays or tests, or it keeps the solar gamma radiation away from you and the 5G waves. So we probably should have a linen garment on when we're doing all these phones and these computers and laptops, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of A lot of places we go to where that 5G, I mean, we just go buy a tower, right?
Yeah.
All right. Getting off track there. But yeah, so linen clothing reduces solar gamma radiation by almost half, thereby protecting humans wearing linen. It has been found that flax fibers retrieved from radioactive soils appear to be totally resistant to radiation. She has a study on it, but they shut her website down because of immunizations and Bill Gates. They are also censoring her website. But I found this, and linen has 5,000 megahertz level. Yes, that's incredible. We were looking into that on another study, and it's really it's something else because when we put these other clothings on our bodies, right? These made up
polyester.
Yes, and all these other materials that have like negative, and they have all these other crazy things. It makes you wonder, what does it do to your body? Like, if you could be wearing something with 5,000, right? I don't know. I think we should do it. We should have we should do a test on this.
Well, when I was nursing during COVID, I had gotten some linen undergarments to wear because it keeps viruses away too.
Wow.
And you know what? The day I did get COVID, I didn't have my linen garments on because I wasn't nursing. I was at Thanksgiving.
Right.
Of all places, I should have worn it, right?
Wow. That's crazy. All right.
You can get linen cheap at thrift stores, and I've already just went and got linen just to cut up and use for like bandages, or say you have a pain here or a pain there, you put the linen on it, but also, that's where I got a lot of my linen clothing. I go to the thrift stores because linen is expensive.
Very much so, and especially if you're going for anything organic or
100%. Yeah.
A little much. Anyway, all right, where are we at here? Proverbs 31 women. You want me to keep reading, or are you up?
What time? It's 8:30. Yeah, keep reading.
All right. Proverbs 31 women make linen. The Proverbs 31:24. She maketh fine linen and selleth it, and delivereth girdles unto the merchant. Other translations are, she makes linen garments and sells them. She delivers sashes to the merchants. Or she makes belted linen garments and sashes to sell to the merchants. Very lovely.
There you go. The Proverbs 31 woman. Or it could mean, I think, remember when we studied Proverbs 31 and it took us a couple months to do that also?
Yep.
Yeah. It could also mean what we thought maybe Proverbs 31 could mean the assembly, the whole congregation too, not just one woman doing all these things. But it is nice to think that as a woman, we can do all these things at once, right?
Yes. Yep. Hold on, or you can read. Hold on.
How do you like it so far, Sylvia? It's interesting, right?
Yes, quite interesting. I'm here. I'm listening.
She had to step out. So I'm gonna read a little bit here.
Okay.
Also in our state of Pennsylvania, it was very important for Pennsylvania Germans through Landis Valley. They grow flax for more than 20 years. But in the mid-1800s, flaxseed and fiber could be found in local farm inventories. Eventually, though, industrial hemp became more popular crop, producing more fiber for a similar amount of work. But I don't think the hemp has as much energy in it and as much goodness in it as what the flax has. Also, they grew flax at the Ephrata Cloister, Ephrata, Pennsylvania. They have a spinning flax wheel there, which they spun into linen. More to come about this. I'm a seventh generation Southern Anabaptist, and they were Sabbath and feast keepers, and my grandfather stayed at the Ephrata cloister, and they have the flax spinner down there today. So I'm going to go down and get some more research down there on that, and I'll bring that to you. But there's a whole guide about it, about spinning flax, how you spin it.
Okay. Well, that's interesting.
I know how they had to make the clothing and spin all of this. It's something. But here is a guide. And like I said, I will send whoever wants it this by email, and then they could click on this to see some of the things on these websites that we compiled together. It's a guide to spinning flax. So flax is a climate-positive plant that's easy to grow. It requires little to no chemical inputs or irrigation. It protects waterways, remediates soil, and provides pollinator habitats. So it also gives back to the soil. Flax's most valuable use in linen production. Demands for linen grows as consumers turn away more synthetics and the demanding natural fibers nowadays. Flax can be turned into dozens of other products of high value crops. It has the potential for new revenue, including for hundreds of farmers in Pennsylvania. They just started this. It's a flax festival in the last couple years in Pennsylvania. And they're wanting more farmers to start growing flax. So I thought that was interesting. And then here's a video that you could watch. I can send up. What I'll probably do is I'll put the video right on the chat, and then anybody can click on it. But they're having a festival of it September 14th and September 15th in Stallstown, Pennsylvania. It's near 3 hours away from Pittsburgh. And you can see the man here. He's carrying flax.
Right.
And then they teach you how to spin it and grow it. So I thought that was so interesting. You know, there's so many things in the Bible that we need to be using nowadays because of everything that's happening in the world. And he says to use the seeds and the herbs that he gave us. Now, in Revelation 1:13, it says, in the midst of the 7 lampstands, I saw one who appeared to be the Son of Man, clothed with a halak, a bell-shaped white linen garment worn by itself. It was under and tall, it was down to his feet, and girded about with a golden sash. And that was taken from the blueletterbible.org.
Right.
And now we have Avia coming on. Hello, Avia. Welcome.
Hello, shalom.
Shalom, welcome. We're doing a study on linen and flax.
Okay.
Nice to have you on. Right now it's being live taped, so we're not talking about anything personal, but you can chat anything about the study or ask a question as we go along. Nice to have you. Okay, so we're up to the part here, linen. We got it. It's quoted from the blueletterbible.org. And fine linen. This is how you spell it in Hebrew. And it's a vav and a bet and a vav and a zadi. And it's Hebrew 948 from the Strong's Concordance. And it also can be spelled with a zadi, vav, and a bet. And you say boots. So linen is say boots in Hebrew. And that's from the Blue Letter Bible. And now we're going to get to some scriptures. And for the people that did miss part of it or couldn't get on tonight, I'm going to be posting part of the study that we'll be finishing up tonight. Not the whole study, but just the part that we'll be finishing. I'll post it. Then anybody can read what we read. So right now we're going into some scriptures that have linen in, and one of them is Genesis 41:42. And Pharaoh took off his signet ring from his hand and put it on Joseph's hand, and arrayed him in robes of fine linen, and put a gold chain about his neck. Exodus 25:4, blue, purple, scarlet, fine linen, and goat's hair. Exodus 26:1, moreover you shall make the tent with 10 curtains of fine twine linen, and blue, and purple, and scarlet, with cherubim, the work of a skillful workman you shall make them. We had there's a Mennonite tabernacle here in Pennsylvania, and they said the curtains would be really, really heavy. They made these really big curtains, and they would be really heavy, of this fine twine linen. Exodus 26:31, you shall make a veil of blue, purple, scarlet, fine twine linen, with cherubim. The work of the skillful workman shall it be made. Exodus 26:36, you shall make a screen for the door of the tent, blue, purple, and scarlet, and fine twine linen, the work of an embroiderer. Exodus 27:9, you shall make the court of the tent for the south side southward. There shall be hangings for the court of fine twine linen, 100 cubits long for one side. Wow, that's really long. Exodus 27:16, for the gate of the court shall be a screen of 20 cubits of blue, purple, scarlet, fine twine linen, the work of the embroiderer, their pillars 4 and their sockets 4. He really had detail of how this was to be made. Exodus 27:18, the length of the court shall be 100 cubits, and the breadth 50 everywhere, and the height 5 cubits of fine twine linen, and their sockets of brass. And it goes on all the way through Exodus here, if you want to go back and read the scriptures. And then it goes over to Exodus 36. All the wise-hearted men among those who did the work made the tent with 10 curtains of fine twine linen, blue, purple, and scarlet. And then it goes all the way to Exodus 38. The screen for the gate of the court was the work of the embroiderer, of blue, purple, scarlet, and fine twine linen. Isn't that something that even way back in ancient times they had an embroiderer? I remember when I was little, my mom taught us how to embroider, and I was actually embroidering up until I had my first child. I remember making a pillow, and then for some reason, all these years, I haven't touched it. I guess it's soon time to pick that up again. Then it goes through Exodus 39, and 39:8 says, he made the breastplate, the work of a skillful workman, like the work of ephod, of gold, of blue, purple, scarlet, and fine twine linen. We had read earlier that the Romans made some breastplates out of linen, and I was wondering how that could be. Like, how did they have a way of making it hard? You know, I'm not sure. I'm going to have to look into that. I got to write that down to look that up. Look up the Roman breastplates. That's something to know. And then up through Exodus here, it's all talking about the fine twine linen. Then we go over to Leviticus. The Cohen shall put on his linen garment, and he shall put on his linen breeches upon his body. He shall remove the ashes from where the fire has consumed the burnt offering on the altar, and he shall put them beside the altar. So we read a lot of the priests wore the linen breeches, linen garments. Now, Leviticus 13:48, whether it is in a warp or a woof of linen, or of wool, whether in a skin or anything made of skin. He shall burn the garment, whether the warp. That was when I had to do with the lepers, like if it got into the linen or the wool. And we will read later on about, maybe, I don't think we'll get to it tonight, but you're not supposed to mix linen and wool. Does anybody have any information on that, about not mixing the linen and the wool? I read that it cancels the energy out of each other and it can make you sick.
That's what I read. Yep, because it's a cancel. So
Yeah.
imagine 0. Now you have, it's like a weird, I don't know. Whoops. Sorry.
Before I knew that, I used to actually, in the winter time, I'd wear wool socks and then have linen sheets, until I realized you shouldn't be doing that. Down here, it's in Deuteronomy. You shall not wear mixed stuff, wool and linen together. A lot of people are starting to wear more natural fibers rather than the polyester, because it's much better for your body, and wear cotton and linen and wool and some of the natural fibers. In 1 Samuel, but Shemuel ministered before the Lord, being a child, girded with a linen ephod. So I wonder how these linen ephods were made. It seems like they would be heavy, like the curtains were heavy. And then David, in 2 Samuel 6:14, David danced before the Lord with all his might. David was girded with a linen ephod. And then 1 Chronicles, the sons of Shelah, the son of Yehuda, the father of Lecca, and Laadah, the father of Marishah, and the families of the house of those who worked fine linen of the house of Ashby. So there were certain workers who worked in the fine linen. 2 Chronicles 2:14, the son of a woman of the daughters of Dan, and his father was a man of Tazor, skillful to work in gold and in silver, in brass and iron, in stone and timber, in purple and blue, in fine linen, in crimson, also to engrave any manner of engraving, to devise any device, that there may be a place appointed to him with your skillful men, with the skillful men of my Lord David your father. So they were skilled in making these things. And then in Esther, there were hangings of white cloth, of green, of blue, fastened with cords of fine linen and purple, to silver rings, pillars of marble. The couches were of gold and silver, a pavement of red, white, yellow, black marble. And then Esther 8:15, Mordecai went forth from the presence of the king in royal clothing of blue and white, with a great crown of gold, with a robe of fine linen and purple. And the city of Shushan shouted and was glad. And Proverbs 31 woman, she makes for herself carpets of tapestry. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. She makes linen garments and sells them, and delivers sashes to the merchants. Isaiah 3:23, the hand mirrors, the fine linen garments, the tiaras, and the shawls. They made linen belts, Jeremiah 13:1. Ezekiel 9:2, and one man in the midst of them was clothed in linen, with a writer's inkhorn by his side. Oh, I always liked that scripture. The writer's inkhorn by his side. They went in and stood beside the brazen altar. He was clothed in linen. And that goes through Ezekiel. Behold, a man clothed in linen, who had the inkhorn. This is in 9:11. By his side reported the matter, saying, I have done as you have commanded me. And this man was clothed in linen. I clothe you also with the embroidered work. I shod you with sealskin, and I girded you about with fine linen and covered you with silk. Ezekiel 16:10. So we're just going through some of these scriptures here that has linen in it. Daniel 10:5. I lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, a man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with pure gold of Uphaz. Daniel 12:6. One said to the man clothed in linen, who was above the waters of the river, how long shall it be to the end of these wonders? I heard the man clothed in linen, who was above the waters of the river, when he held up his right hand, his left hand to the heaven, swore by him who lives forever, that it shall be for a time, times and a half, when they have made an end of breaking in pieces the power of the holy people, all these things shall be finished. Kay really wanted to come on tonight, but she had other things she had to do. She's from New York. But her theme for Shavuot this year is the kingdom, the Melchizedek priesthood. And actually, that's the next study I wanted to do, was the Melchizedek priesthood after we're done the linen study. But she says to me, anything you learn having to do with the Melchizedek, let me know. So here we go. I mean, breaking in pieces the power of the holy people, all these things shall be finished. And then we get over to Matthew, where it was the linen cloths have to do with Yeshua. But I think the whole linen thing has to do with Yeshua, everything. Matthew 27:59. Joseph took the body and wrapped it in clean linen cloth. A certain young man followed him, having a linen cloth thrown around himself over his naked body. But he left the linen cloth and fled from them naked. That's Mark 14:52. He bought a linen cloth, and taking him down, wound him in the linen cloth and laid him in a tomb, which had been cut out of the rock. He rolled a stone against the door of the tomb. Now there was a certain rich man, and he was clothed in purple and fine linen, living in luxury every day. That was in Luke 16:19. And then Luke 23:53, he took it down and wrapped it in a linen cloth and laid him in a tomb that was cut in stone, where no one had ever been laid. Isn't that something? Where our Yeshua was laid, no one was ever laid there before. It was clean. Luke 24:12, but Rock got up and ran to the tomb. Stooping and looking in, he saw the strips of linen lying by themselves, and he departed to his home, wondering what had happened. And then John 19. So they took Yeshua's body and bound it in linen cloths with spices, as the custom of the Yehudim is to bury. And stooping and looking in, he saw the linen cloths lying there, yet he didn't enter in. Then when it talked about the rock, it was talking about Simon. Then Simon, the rock, came following him. And this is just this translation. Then Simon, the rock, and this came from Blue Letter Bible. Following him and entering him into the tomb, he saw the linen clothes lying. And the cloth had been on his head, not lying with the linen cloths, but rolled up in a place by itself. Just today, I said this study could go on for a while. I found another study about this John 20, verse 7, in Patterns of Evidence. I want to print that out and see what he had to say about it. It's about the linen that was wrapped around his head, around Yeshua's head. Revelation 15:6, the 7 angels who had the 7 plagues came out, clothed with pure bright linen, wearing golden sashes around their breasts. Revelation 18:12, merchandise of gold, silver, precious stones, pearls, fine linen, and that's Greek Strong's 1039, purple, silk, scarlet, all expensive wood, every vessel of ivory, every vessel made of most precious wood of brass, iron, and marble. And Revelation 18:16, saying, Woe, woe, the great city. She was dressed in fine linen, purple and scarlet, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. And Revelation 19:8, it was given to her that she would array herself in bright, pure, fine linen, for the fine linen is the righteous acts of the holy ones. And then again, Revelation 19:14. The armies which are in heaven followed him on white horses, clothed in white, pure, fine linen. Wow. So just think about this. So if they were coming down from the heavens and they had the linen on, then there's linen up there in the heavenly, wherever Elohim is at. Right, everyone? Isn't that pretty neat? They came down with the linen on. It's something. So I think what we'll do is we'll stop here on page 24, and then I will post this to our chat up until page 24, and anybody who missed a part of it. And there's also a video in part of that you can go look how flax is made, and you can go back and read what we talked about in the beginning, because there's some interesting points. So I'll mark here that we'll start here next time. And we will now stop the video, and then we can say a closing prayer. Let me stop the video here. And thank you, everyone, for coming on, and those that will be seeing the video. Stop recording.